Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. I'm Dr. Bobby Price, and today I'm going to teach you how to open up detoxification pathways. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why is this even important to me? You're probably about to hit the switch on the channel, but you do not need to do that. And let me explain why. Not only are you confused about that, but probably your healthcare professional, your doctor, is confused about it as well. We are not taught as healthcare professionals why it's so important when it comes to health and healing to have your detoxification organs and detoxification pathways not only highly functional, but also open and dumping waste out of the body. We're also not really taught about the accumulative effect of all these toxins that we're getting in our food supply, that we're getting in our water supply, that we're getting in the air that's polluted, that we're getting in household products, that we're getting in hygiene products, cosmetic products. All of these accumulative toxins, we look at them on an individual basis, but we never really consider what happens when all of these toxins come into our bodies at one time. Okay, just think about looking at your shampoo, okay, or your soap, or the food that you eat throughout the day, and all of the products that were used to make your food or your meal, and your 3 times, okay, because it's 3 times, you eat 3 times a day. And then think about the water that you're bathing in that goes on your skin, even if you don't drink tap water, that has fluoride, that has chlorine, that has chloramine, that has other microparticles like microplastics, that has been shown to have trace amounts of antipsychotic drugs and other things in it as well too. That's just the water. We're not really taught to analyze what is the accumulative effect of all of these toxins coming in the body at once. And we're not taught how they break down these detoxification organs like our liver, like our lymphatic system, our kidneys, our digestive system, our skin, a woman's womb, and the list goes on and on and on. We're not taught to even look at these as potential culprits as to why your blood pressure is high. Okay? I'll give you a really quick sort of scenario. If you look at the liver, most people think of the liver, they think of the liver as the organ of detoxification, and it is the master organ of detoxification. But did you know that your liver makes a large percentage of the cholesterol that your body needs, okay? So the cholesterol that you need in virtually every cell in the body, the cholesterol that you need for sex hormones, the cholesterol that you need for your brain, okay? So it's very pivotal for that. It's also pivotal for blood glucose regulation, okay? So if you have problems with diabetes, okay? It also plays a very pivotal role in inflammation in the body. It plays a pivotal role in breaking down toxins so that they're not in their worst form, okay? A less harmful form. It plays many roles in the body, and this is what people don't. It plays a huge role in digestion. So your digestive issues could be a result of your liver not functioning at a high level. So it's just really important to understand that that is just your liver. But I'm talking about all of your detoxification organs, your lymphatic system, your lungs, your gut, okay, your skin. All of these things begin to break down. And as they begin to break down, the unfortunate consequence is you start to see that they're breaking down. You start to have skin issues, okay? It starts off with a little acne, and then it becomes psoriasis, and then it becomes even worse after that. I won't even go into like worse details, but it's just important to know and understand that we see the symptoms, okay? The symptoms look like high blood pressure. The symptoms look like, blood clots. All of these things can be as a result of your body accumulating toxicity because the organs of detoxification have become oversaturated, and now these detoxification pathways are no longer functioning like they should be, okay? A great example of that is constipation, okay? Constipation is a saturated and a stagnant detoxification pathway. That's how we get rid of waste, okay? So it's just really important to understand that the conversation that I'm having with you is not only about how you're you're supposed to go about healing, it's also how you maintain your health. This is a huge part of how we maintain our health, how we keep our health, how we prevent dis-ease from actually, manifesting in our bodies. So as I go through this list of ways that you can open up your detoxification pathways, keep all of that in mind, because again, no matter what you go to your doctor for or the hospital for or the clinic for, the unfortunate thing is that this type of conversation often isn't had with you. Okay, so you don't know to do it. And because we're not taught this information, we don't know to tell you to do it. We don't know how to help you, even open up these detoxification pathways. And as always, this is not medical advice. This is simply how nature works with our body. Okay, so this is not medical advice. So whatever your specific situation is, of course, you have to deal with that with your doctor, but just trust and understand, I unfortunately have to consult many doctors on an issue that they've been struggling with in the modern medicine sort of pathway of things, and it hasn't worked. And as soon as we start getting these detoxification pathways open, again, now the healing begins. Okay, so that's why it's so important. And a lot of you who have done my detox before, my full body detox, you've experienced many of these things, especially if you've done my group detox. I teach you many of these things. So I'm giving you guys sort of some of the secret sauce, okay, that I give, my detoxers. All right, so number one, all right, and this is in no order of priority. And I'm going to tell you that all of these are equally important, okay? But one is hydrate. Stay hydrated. The reason why that is so important is because think about it like this. How the body gets rid of waste is always using water. If you think about all of those elimination pathways, the gut, okay, the bowels, most of your bowel movement is water, okay? You cannot have a bowel movement if you're dehydrated, okay? It will just turn into a brick of poo and stay stuck against your bowel walls, okay? So it's important for having a bowel movement, okay? Another way that we eliminate toxicity is through the skin, okay? How do we eliminate toxicity through the skin? Well, we sweat, all right? We release things through the skin like even mucus, and it looks like, acne or a bump with pus coming out of it. That's really mucus, all right? All of that requires water, okay? You can't remove toxicity by sweating if you don't have water, if you're dehydrated, all right? And what I'm noticing is that a lot of people, even when they work out, they don't sweat anymore. Like, that is not normal, all right? So that's really, it's important for that purpose. Also for your kidneys. Your kidneys are getting rid of what is called uric acid. Okay, you call it urine, but it's getting rid of acid out of the body. All right, urine, last time I checked, is a liquid. Okay, you need water to flow through the kidneys to be able to get rid of uric acid. Otherwise, that uric acid will accumulate in the kidneys' tissues. And of course, anything that is very acidic and its concentration is steadily increasing, it's going to ruin the tissues, okay? Thereby being the kidneys, the nephrons in the kidneys, okay? And that's what happens when people go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, chronic kidney disease, okay? And then dialysis. Those nephrons, those little individual filtering units, which most people have about 250,000 in each kidney, as this acid is accumulating in the kidneys, well, those nephrons are becoming dysfunctional and no longer working because it's unfortunately, punishing the tissues. All right, so water is very important for that as well too. So hydration is super important. All right, you have to stay hydrated. In my book, Vegetation Over Medication, I talk about it at length. Dehydration, to me, is a medical emergency, okay? It's just the beginning of it, all right? You get dehydrated, you get headaches, so many other things happen. You lose brain function, You have to stay hydrated. Our bodies are roughly 75% water. So when you're dehydrated, you're in a medical emergency. All right, hugely important. Even how we get rid of toxins out of the lungs, you have to be hydrated. You have to have water present in the body. All right, and I've talked at length about the type of water, so that's a whole nother conversation. Number two, you have to increase your fiber. Okay, not only do you need water to have a bowel movement, but you need fiber. If you have a fiberless diet, like many of these carnivore diets that have no fiber in them, the only place you can get fiber is from plants, not from dairy, not from meat. You have to have fiber in your diet. And if you overcook the food, you have ruined the fiber. Okay, so it's not going to be useful fiber. Okay, so you got to increase the amount of fiber because that is what is used to form a stool. But also, more importantly, fiber acts like a broom to our bowels, sweeping out the bowels, gathering things as it's moving and transversing through this 30 to 35 feet of bowels. Okay, so it's just really important to understand you got to have hydration, number one. Number two, you got to have fiber. Okay. Number three, okay, the number three way that you can open up detoxification pathways is deep diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, so we also are getting toxicity as we breathe in as well too. If you go and look up some of the leading causes of death, I do believe that respiratory diseases are number 4 on that list. Okay, and with that being said, what people don't understand is that most people rarely take a deep breath. Most people breathe very shallow. And if you look at most people's resting breath rate, okay, at rest, they have a high resting breath rate, meaning they're breathing not only shallow, but they're breathing rapidly, which puts a lot of anxiety on the body, okay? And when the body is in a state of anxiety, okay, that's going to be the sympathetic nervous system, which shut down detoxification. Okay, when the body is in state of peace and calmness, which is parasympathetic, the body increases detoxification. Okay, so deep diaphragmatic breathing actually puts the body in a parasympathetic state. Okay, and it also releases toxins from the lungs. And it also, when you do deep diaphragmatic breathing, you flatten out the diaphragm. And when the diaphragm flattens out, it pushes down on the digestive organs and sort of acts like a massage to the digestive organs. So it's also helping to detoxify the digestive organs as well, too. So this is why deep diaphragmatic breathing is important for that reason, those reasons. But it's also important because it calms not only the nervous system, but it calms you in your mind and in your emotional state as well too. And toxins come in all forms. They don't just come in the form of physical toxins, they come in the form of emotional and mental toxins as well too. So deep diaphragmatic breathing is good for that as well too. Number 4, you gotta sweat. Okay, I mentioned this before. All right, but you have to be intentional about sweating because most people spend very little time outside now. I can remember growing up as a kid, most of my time was spent outside, okay? I spent very little time inside the house. Not only because I wanted to be outside and it was a cool thing to be outside when I was growing up, but most importantly, like my parents were like, go outside. I mean, literally from the time you wake up in the morning, if it's, of course, not school, from the time you wake up in the morning, it's like, go outside. And you're out. We were outside for 12 hours, okay? Come in to grab something to eat, okay? Go back right back outside, okay? But we spent most of our time outside growing up as kids, and kids these days spend most of their time inside, okay? And as we're outside, we're running around, we're playing, we're sweating, we're breathing, we're taking in nature, we're doing all of these things. We've gotten away from that, okay? Even as adults, I remember my grandparents spending most of their time outside. My grandfather would sit outside on the porch all day, Okay, just drinking water, sitting outside that was a common occurrence. All right, so it's just important to know we've gotten away from being outside. We've gotten away from manual labor. We've gotten away from being active. And as a result of that, we don't sweat that much. Okay, and when you don't sweat, you don't use one of the primary detoxification pathways. Okay, so that's really, really important. You got to sweat not only through exercise, okay, but also the next one, number 5, you can use sauna. Okay, you can use the sauna. Okay, some people, if you don't have a sauna, you can also sunbathe. You can go outside in the sun as well too. But number 5, the sauna. Okay, the sauna is not only good because it makes you sweat, but the sauna is also good because it increases your core temperature. Okay, now let me explain something real quick. The same way, if you got some sort of infection and your body would create a fever, okay, a higher temperature in the body. The purpose of that fever is to increase the temperature in the body because certain bacteria and viruses cannot survive above a certain temperature. Okay? This is where a sauna can be like an artificial fever because now you can go into the sauna, increase the core temperature. Let's say it's winter. All right? And you go into the sauna, you're increasing the core temperature. Now you're getting that heat inside of the body too. And it's not only good for, increasing the temperature to fight off bacteria and viruses and being able to sweat, but it also has many other benefits as well too. Okay, like boosting the immune system. So number 5 is gonna be the sauna. All right. Number 6, you gotta poop more. All right. I mentioned this earlier, but one of the primary ways that the body gets rid of waste is by pooping. And most people are not. Listen, most people aren't just constipated. Most people are impacted with poo. All right. That beer belly that you want to get rid of but just doesn't go anywhere, that's poo. Okay. And it's because most people don't understand that you should literally have a bowel movement for every time you eat. Okay. And I know that sounds foreign to a lot of people, but if I eat 2 to 3 meals, then I'm going to have 2 to 3 bowel movements. Okay. All right. So it's just really important to understand that if you want one of the primary pathways of removing waste from the body is pooping. You got to poop. All right. And one of the primary ways we intoxicate the body, all right, is through our own poop. Just sitting there, rotting and fermenting. And when it rots and ferments, it creates nasty bugs. Okay. Not good bacteria. It creates bad bacteria. Okay. And then your bowels at some point will become leaky. And all of that waste that is in your bowels, the 35 feet of bowels will start to leak out. And once it starts to leak out, now you're getting issues like inflammation all over the body. Now you're getting fibroids. The list goes on and on. So you have to poop. All right. So if you want to open up one of the major detoxification pathways, you got to start pooping. All right. Number 7, most people may or may not be familiar with this, but there's a way you can open up the detoxification pathway known as the lymphatic system. Okay, the lymphatic system is essentially the sewage system in our bodies. Okay, and one of them that you can stimulate the lymphatic system is by dry brushing. Okay, getting a soft toothbrush and just simply brushing the skin. All right, you brush the skin towards the folds in the body. So you got a fold here in the elbow, so you want to brush toward the fold. You can fold at your neck, so you want to brush toward your neck. Okay, like this. All right, you got a fold in your growing area, so you want to brush in that area toward the armpits, etc., etc. All right, so dry brushing is one way that you can stimulate the lymphatic system. All right, you also can do rebound trampoline, so that's a bonus to number 7. Number 9, fasting. Fasting is another way that you can really increase and open up detoxification pathways. And the reason why is because the longer you fast, okay, The longer you fast, the more benefits you get. All right. So let me give you one of the primary benefits of fasting. First of all, when you're fasting, you're not eating. And when you're not eating, all of that energy gets diverted towards health and healing, okay, and repairing. All right. So that's one huge benefit when you're not eating. All right. Number two, you kick in what's called autophagy. Autophagy is intracellular cleansing and intracellular sort of detoxification. So it's getting rid of these old senescent cells that are no longer functional, that have damaged DNA or mutated DNA. Gets rid of those cells that could potentially turn into cancerous cells. All right, so that's what autophagy is. And autophagy begins around 16 hours of fasting. So let's say, for instance, I decided that I was going to maybe stop eating at 8, and I wasn't going to start eating again until 1 p.m. the next day. Okay, that's over 16 hours. So at that point, autophagy has begun for me. Now, between 16 and 24 hours is when not only autophagy kicks up a little bit more, but you also start to increase fat burning. Okay, between 24 and 72 hours, not only does autophagy start to sort of increase even more, but now you start to create ketone bodies, all right, that are actually feeding your brain and feeding your body in the replace of the glucose that you're not getting from not eating. Okay. And then after 72 hours, autophagy goes up exponentially. Now, again, you got people out there who have issues, who are on certain medications. So fasting this long isn't for everybody. So please speak with your doctor about that before you do that, especially if you're on medication. Okay. But fasting could actually be a tremendous help when it comes to opening up detoxification pathways. And it's something that I essentially do every day because I do intermittent fasting. And then I do periodically where I do long-term fasting, where I do 3 or more days. Okay. So fasting can help open up your detoxification pathways. And for me, whenever I'm just feeling off, I fast. Okay. If you look at all of the great prophets, all of them have had a period where they fast. Okay. So you follow greatness. All right. Number 10, sleep. Okay. Sleep. And the reason why sleep is so important, again, sleep is when the body rebuilds, rejuvenates, and heals. Okay. If you don't sleep, you won't heal. If you don't sleep, you won't rebuild. A lot of people don't know this, but if you go to the gym and you work out hard, but you do not get proper sleep, you will not rebuild. Okay. You'll never gain muscle properly. Okay. It'll also suppress your immune system. It'll also cause cognitive dysfunction and breakdown. Okay. But if you get proper sleep, proper REM sleep, okay, proper deep sleep, it actually pushes the brain to remove toxins while you sleep because it increases what's called cerebrospinal fluid, okay, which is essentially like a flush to the entire nervous system. Okay, so that's the first thing. It also increases lymphatic activity. Now, you heard me say earlier, your lymphatic system is all over your body, but in your brain, you have what's called a glymphatic system, which is essentially the waste removal system for the brain. Okay, so people out there who have, relatives who have Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's syndrome, autism, ADD, ADHD, those type of things, this is why this is so important, to increase glymphatic activity, which is dumping waste and inflammation out of the brain. All right. And then also sleep. When you get in proper sleep, and you'll notice that people who have these issues, ADHD, ADD, autistic children, dementia, the list goes on and on. All of these people have trouble sleeping. Okay, so it's really, really important. And one of the big benefits of getting not only adequate sleep, but getting very, very high quality sleep. It removes these amyloid plaques that you see with people who have Alzheimer's as well too. Okay, so hugely important. And then I'm going to give you two more, and then we're going to get out of here. All right, next one, mindset shift. Okay, you're probably asking, how does a mindset shift open up detoxification pathways? Well, here's the thing. If you don't shift how you think, all of the ways that you're actually introducing toxin to your body, you will continue to do those things. So that's the first thing. The other thing that's really important, and I teach this when I'm doing my group detoxes, is that if you're in a state, an emotional and mental state of attachment to toxic behaviors, to toxic thinking, to unresolved trauma, and things that happen to you that you refuse to let go, people you refuse to forgive. The list goes on and on. If you're in that mental state, if you cannot let go of hurt, if you cannot let go of the pain of the past, if you cannot let go of emotional toxins, mental toxins, toxic beliefs, toxic thoughts, if you're not willing to let go of those things, then what people don't understand about the body is just simply the slave to the mind. So if the mind is caught up in attachment to toxic things, then the body will be attached to toxic things too. And I had this conversation so many times with people who've done my detox, and the first time they didn't get all of the benefits that they wanted. But as soon as they made that mental shift, okay, and started letting go of these unresolved traumas and started to heal, started letting go of emotional toxins, okay, mental toxins, okay, toxic habits, toxic people, toxic places. As soon as they started to let those things go, all of a sudden their body started flooding out all of these toxins. They were having maybe 2 bowel movements during the detox, and then all of a sudden it increased to 4 in a day. Okay, so it's just really important to understand that even a mental shift towards letting go is important as well too. And then the last one is herbs. Herbs wake up the detoxification organs, the liver, the lymphatic system, the lungs, the kidneys, the bowels, the womb. It wakes up these detoxification organs. Okay, as it wakes these detoxification organs up, it also pulls out the inflammation, pulls out the mucus, pulls out the heavy metals, pulls out all of the waste, not only from the gut, from the liver, from the kidneys, from the lymphatic system, from the lymph nodes, etc. But it's also pulling them out on a intracellular level as well too. All right, and the reason, and not to mention the blood as well too, which is literally delivering these toxins around because your body is so saturated with them. And the ability of herbs to be able to do that, to pull out the waste, to pull out the acidity, okay? This is what initiates the body's innate ability to actually heal itself, okay? To maintain your health, all right? And it's really important, especially in the toxic environment that we live in today, all right? So this is part of, if you read my book, I talk about, toxic accumulation, all right? And being a pharmacist and being a chemist and being somebody who's literally been on both sides of medicine, okay? Been on the natural side and was on the unnatural side of medicine, the modern medicine in the hospital, and now being on the natural side. What I could tell you is that unequivocally, there's a reason why at one point the vast majority of drugs were made based on plant-based derivatives. There's a big reason why that is, okay? All right, and you should also know plants can't be patented. And if you can't patent something, you really can't make money off of it, all right? So there's no true money in plants, all right? So this is why my first step in healing myself of high blood pressure, sleep apnea, being overweight, almost 50 pounds, my first step was change how I eat, okay? Because you can't expect to get better if you're treating yourself poorly. And then 2, detoxification. That's how I created my detox. Okay, I realized that from a chemist's perspective, when I started looking at the food labels, when I started looking at the things that were in my soaps and my lotions, when I started to look at the things that were in my hair care products, when I started to look at the things that were in tap water, and I realized this was what was making me sick, and the key was the combination of supreme nutrition and detoxification using herbs, that is when the game changed. All right. So hopefully this video has sort of waking you up to how important and how impactful opening up detoxification pathways, especially using herbs like I just talked about. And if you have done my detox and you've noticed that your sleep got better, that your menstrual cycle got better, that the inflammation went away, let's inspire some people in the comments and tell them a little bit about your story. So I appreciate you guys tapping in with me today. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed.